Hello and welcome to Endrelifka Jewellery. My name is Lauren and in today's video I am going to show you how to make this resin inlay sterling silver pendant. This pendant has some chips of, I think it's called Mojave turquoise, Mojave, I'm not too sure, I'll write it somewhere here. Yeah, some chips of that stone inlaid into resin and set into a sterling silver heart shape. This is a nice, quick, easy project to do. The metal work was actually surprisingly fast on this, and the end result is pretty effective. I've had quite a lot of interest in this pendant within the first few days of posting the picture on Instagram, and it's really fun to make, so I'm looking forward to making another one. This could be a good technique to know. Maybe if you sometimes chip some of your gemstones or your cabochons, it could be a good way to use some of those chips without having to waste the stone. Setting them in resin could be a good way to stop wastage in your business, to prevent the wastage, and it's just fun to experiment and try something different. So let's just get straight into the tutorial. Okay, so first of all I am just marking out the shape that I want the pendant to be on the metal. I usually do this directly onto the metal for heart shapes, but you can of course use a template. So I just drew the inner heart and then another heart around it. Then I am drilling into the middle of the centre heart so that I can saw that section out. Then I'm just sawing around the edge of the outer heart, and then we have our hollow heart shape, which we will solder onto a back plate in a minute. Here I'm just using needle files to clean up the inside heart section that has been sawn out. Now I'm just tracing around the heart onto the piece of metal that I'm going to use as a back plate, and you will see why I'm doing this in a minute instead of just soldering it directly onto the metal. So in Iceland we don't have an assay office, we self-mark our own work, so I am just adding my name stamp and the 925 silver stamp to the metal. My camera didn't like that hammering, as you can see. Now I am soldering the hollow heart shape onto the back plate. I'm just sawing out the back plate. And this is what I end up with. And now I'm just filing around the outside edge and just making sure it is all cleaned up to the shape that I want, and make sure all the solder joins are just blended in. And can't forget that little pointed area at the top of the heart. Now I'm just giving everything a nice buff. I'm soldering on the jump ring, and I thought it would be quite nice to put the jump ring in this direction so that I don't have to add another jump ring after. This can just slide straight onto the chain. And I'm just using a bit of scrap copper as a support to lift up the pendant a little bit to get the jump ring in the position that I want it. So these are my diamond tip burrs, and I am just using it to create a bit of texture in the background of the inside heart, and that's just to help the resin stick. It's better to not have a completely smooth surface. Now I'm just polishing the piece and preparing it to add the resin inlay. So these are the Mojave turquoise chips. I got these from Desert Creek Rocks. They were just offcuts from cutting other cabochons. Very, very pretty colours. It's hard for the camera to focus, but they are beautiful, trust me. So I'm adding a bit of glue into the middle of the pendant. I would recommend a 2-part epoxy glue, but I could not find mine, so I am using GS Hypo Cement here. But like I said, I do recommend a 2-part epoxy. And then I'm just adding some of the smallest chips into the pendant. You can go above the pendant if you want and just buff them down afterwards, but I do not want to take them very high. I want to just fill it to the top with the resin. You need to wait for the glue to dry, and if you use a 2-part epoxy you will need to wait 24 hours. And the glue must be fully dry before you add your resin. So here I am adding a UV resin. You can use epoxy resin if you want. I'm just using UV because it's what I prefer to work with, because I get less waste with the resin that way, especially for just a single small piece like this. If I was making multiple pieces, then I might use epoxy, but for this I'm just using UV resin. I am using a cocktail stick just to get rid of any air bubbles that are in the resin. Just poke them and they should pop. I did get a bit of resin on the metal, so I am just using a cotton bud to try and clean off as much as I can. And then it's time to go under the UV lamp to cure the resin. I learnt the hard way that it is better to do this in layers. A little bit of resin, cure the resin, a little bit more, and cure it, because mine took forever to cure. After it cured, I just used some polishing papers to get any resin off the metal around the edge of the heart, and just to give it a nice polish. And if you want to, you can also give it another final polish using the polishing motor and some rouge. I just used the polishing papers and it looked lovely. And then we're on to the glamour shots. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and let me know if you make this pendant. Bye!